So now that we have sorted all of our seeds and created a list of the seeds that we have and when they need to be planted, we decided to focus on tomatoes and herbs today because tomatoes cannot be planted outside till the danger of frost is over. So unless you have a row cover to extend the season, it has to be started inside. And then we chose to do thyme because herbs take a notoriously long time to get going. They will self-seed, but it takes almost a full 2 weeks for them to germinate, and then germination from there on out. It takes a while for them to become something more significant than these 2 leaves on the corner of the package. And here we're using heirloom tomatoes. The Brandywine. These have proven to work well in our garden, and see, there's a lot of flesh, not a lot of seeds, so it's a good sandwich tomato. Let's take a look back here. See, sow seeds indoors 6 to 8 weeks before the last frost date. So we're about a month out from frost, like the very last possible frost. So we're behind the 8 ball, but we're going to do it inside anyway. And we're going to use some compost tea to fertilize inside and get these plants going with a lot of vigor before they go outside. So I want to mention regarding that, the size of the pot you start in should reflect how long you plan to keep the plant inside or the plant's terminal size. So I find that there is no point in planting tomatoes in small containers like this because you'll end up potting them up twice before they go outside, and that's laborious and messy. So I start in a larger container for tomatoes, and then, like I said, using some organic liquid fertilizers like compost tea keeps your plants from getting too leggy. They just really grow quickly in a short stature. But then over here, this is the kind of pot that I'm using for the thyme because, like I said, it's going to be super tiny, just like these little 2 leaves on the package. And I will still fertilize the thyme, but if you think about the plant stature above ground, the same is true for the roots underneath. And so the thyme could not possibly put on the same root mass that these tomatoes can in a couple weeks' time. Both of these can go out in about a month with no fear of damage. I do save my containers from year to year, and I try to be really organized about it. If something's breaking, go ahead and recycle it. If you leave this stuff laying about the garden, the plastic deteriorates really quickly and it gets brittle, excuse me. So you definitely have to plan ahead and keep some storage space in the garage or wherever you store things. But in order to reuse the plastic, which I highly recommend, that's the best thing to do for the environment, you have to take care of it. Now let's talk about the soil itself. So, man, this is like my life's quest to get people to stop using peat moss in their gardens. It's a non-renewable resource from our northern boreal forests, where the soils have been permanently waterlogged or frozen under snow. It's called permafrost, and with the warming of the planet, we are really losing this carbon sink, a place on our planet where carbon is stored underground, where it does not affect the temperature. But once it starts to decompose, or we harvest it on purpose for a planting mix, we are contributing carbon to the atmosphere, thereby contributing to climate change. Carbon dioxide holds heat, and that's why it is a vector for temperature warming in the atmosphere. So this company right here, EcoScraps, I buy this at Lowe's. It's not, that's underwhelming that it's purchased at Lowe's, but this is the best stuff I can find. So, you know, the one place where it's hard to get away from the peat moss is with the seed starting. Like a really nice seed starting mix is pure peat moss, and it's very fine and light. So this is a little bit of a compromise. You can see that there are some larger pieces. That's not ideal. But if I just bring my garden soil in from outside to get this quality soil, then I'm bringing bugs in. And the aphids love the new tender plants, and so they hatch in the warmth of the house, and then they're all over the brand new plants. It's best if you're going to use fresh soil to use it in your seed starting operation. So this eco scrap stuff is made with a whole bunch of recycled materials. It's made with food like cafeteria, industrial composting. It's made with cocoa coir, which is the inner fibers in a coconut. It's made with processed forest products, which is like the leftover things even smaller than would work for plywood. Those fibers from the wood products industry. And then, then perlite, which is a mineral product used to increase aeration in the soil. So all of these things are sustainable, and they are in this bag mixed together, and they are recycled. And this is very affordable soil. Eco Scraps, you can look it up online. It's totally organic, and when you buy a bag like this, it's sterile. It doesn't have the microorganisms in it that you don't want, like the aphids, right? So if you're going to make this choice, make it for your seed starting operation. Make it for your house plants, because you don't want aphids in the house. See, this is a pet peeve of mine, because guess what? I have aphids in my house. So there's my diatribe about the soil. That's the soil I'm using. I think it's the best for the environment. These are all recycled pots. I've labeled, or actually my interns have labeled the tomatoes, written the date on there. And we have a place even in our kitchen where we put chalkboard paint on the wall, and we haven't quite kept up with it. But in theory, this is where we would write with chalk all of the seed planting dates. So although I missed a date, I will put today's date down. Tomatoes and time. There you go.